if you take photos of me, please don't put them in Facebook. Facebook is not your friend. Second, if you make a recording and you want to distribute copies, please do this only in formats that are friendly to free software, such as the OGG formats or WebEd. No MP3, no MPEG-4, no Flash. And please put on them the Creative Commons No Derivatives license, because this is a statement of opinions. So, oh, the other thing is water. I really, here's some water. What is free software? Free software is software that respects your freedom and your community. So it's free in the sense of freedom. We're not talking about price. It's clearer in Russian. You can say свободным. I don't mean bесплатным. The price, if you pay a price to get a copy or not, that's just a little detail. It's not an important ethical issue. Freedom is an important ethical issue, and that's what I'm talking about today. Community is an important ethical issue, being able to cooperate with others. So that's what this is about. If a program is not free, it is proprietary software, user-subjugating software. It keeps the users divided and helpless. Divided because they're forbidden to redistribute it to each other, and helpless because they don't have the source code, so they can't change it. They can't even determine independently what it's really doing. And often, non-free software has malicious features. I'll say more about that in a little while. So, a non-free program generates a system of unjust power, a system of digital colonization. As the motto of a colonial system is divide and rule. So you keep the users divided and helpless. But when I say that free software respects your freedom, that's a very general statement. I have to be more specific. A program is free software if you, the users, have the 4 essential freedoms. Freedom 0 is the freedom to run the program as you wish. Freedom 1 is the freedom to study the source code and then change it to make the program do your computing as you wish. And this includes the practical possibility of running your modified version instead of the version you were given. Freedom 2 is the freedom to help others. That's the freedom to make exact copies and distribute them to others when you wish. And freedom 3 is the freedom to contribute to your community. That's the freedom to make copies of your modified versions and distribute them to others when you wish. Just a second. Oh, did you get the pins out of here?
No.
They're gone. Oh, I put them in this compartment. That's why I don't see them. So, if a program comes with these 4 freedoms, it's free software because the social system of its distribution and use is an ethical system, one that respects freedom and community. But if one of these freedoms is missing or insufficient, then the program is non-free proprietary software because it imposes an unethical social system on its users. So the difference between free and proprietary software is not a technical difference. It's a social, ethical, and political difference. And that's why it's so important. You can leave technical issues to the people who are working on them, but ethical, social, and political issues affect you directly as a user, and everyone must be concerned about them. The use of a free program in society is development, because the free program embodies knowledge, and that knowledge is available to the users for them to understand and then maintain, adapt, and extend and use in other ways. But the use of a proprietary program is not development, it's dependence. Imposed dependence on one particular entity. And that is a social problem. So if we see people using a proprietary program, we should try to put an end to that. It's something we need to try to stop. To write a free program is a contribution to society. How much of a contribution? That depends on all the details. But writing a proprietary program is not a contribution. It's a power grab. It's an attack on society. In social terms, this proprietary program is a trap. If the program has attractive features, those are the bait for the trap. Their purpose is to attract people to fall into the pit, to give up their freedom and become dependent. So they don't make the program better. They make it more dangerous, more harmful. Thus, if you have the choice to either write a proprietary program or do nothing at all, it's better to do nothing at all, because that way you don't do harm. So the aim of the free software movement is that all programs be free so that all their users can be free. But why are these four freedoms essential? Why define free software this way? Each freedom has a reason. Freedom 2, the freedom to help others, the freedom to make exact copies and distribute them to others when you wish, is essential on basic moral grounds, so you can live an upright, ethical life as a good member of your community. If you use a program that does not give you freedom too, then you are in danger of falling into a moral dilemma. At any moment, whenever your good friend says, "That program is nice, could I have a copy?" In that moment, you will face a choice between two evils. One evil is to give your friend a copy and violate the license of the program. The other evil is to refuse your friend a copy and follow the license of the program. If you are in this dilemma, you ought to choose the lesser evil, which is to give your friend a copy and violate the license of the program. Why is this the lesser evil? Because when you can't avoid doing wrong to somebody or other, it's less bad if you do wrong to somebody who deserves it because he has done something bad. We can assume that your good friend is a good member of your community and normally deserves your cooperation. Of course, that's not always true, but it's the usual case. By contrast, the developer of this proprietary program has deliberately tried to attack the social solidarity of your community. And that's very bad. So, if you have to do wrong to one or the other, do it to the developer. However, being the lesser evil does not make it good. It's never good to make an agreement and break it. Not even an evil, vicious agreement like this one, which is so bad that keeping it is worse than breaking it. Still, breaking it is not good. And if you give your friend a copy, what will she have? She will have an unauthorized copy of a proprietary program. And that's a nasty thing. It's almost as nasty as an authorized copy of the same program. So, when you have fully understood this issue, what should you really do? You should make sure you are never in this dilemma. How can you do that? I know two ways. One is, don't have any friends. That's what the proprietary developers have in mind for you when they attack the social solidarity of your community. People shouldn't help each other anymore. The other path, my approach, is reject that software. Reject the software that denies freedom too. That's what I do. If someone offers me a program, no matter how convenient it might be, on the condition that I not share it with you, I reject it. I say, my conscience does not permit me to accept those conditions, so take your nasty program out of here. And that's what you should do. And we should also reject the propaganda terms that the proprietary developers use to demonize cooperation. Terms like pirate. What are they really saying when they call people who share pirates? They want us to believe that helping other people is the moral equivalent of attacking ships. However, morally speaking, that's as false as it can be. Because attacking ships is very bad, but sharing is good. So we should not call them by the same word. We should not refer to sharing as piracy. When people ask me what I think of piracy, I say, attacking ships is very bad. And when they ask me what I think of movie piracy, I say, well, the first Pirates of the Caribbean was okay. The point is that I look for a funny way to reject the meaning that they had in mind. That's the point, reject the meaning, the propaganda meaning that they had in mind. And by doing it with a joke, I make it very visible that I'm rejecting the meaning, so it's more effective. So that's the reason for freedom too. The freedom to help others, the freedom to make exact copies and distribute them to others when you wish. It's essential on basic moral grounds. Freedom zero, the freedom to run the program as you wish, is essential for a different reason, so you can have control of your computing. Now there are proprietary programs whose licenses don't even give you this much freedom. For instance, there's a proprietary program for managing websites whose license says that it's forbidden to use this program to publish anything that criticizes the developer of the program. In this case, non-free software literally denies the user's freedom of speech. Clearly, if you can't even freely use your copy, you don't control your computing. So freedom zero is essential. But it's not enough, because that's the freedom to either do or not do whatever the code of the program is already set up to let you do. The things that the code won't let you do, you have no choice about. So in order to really have control of your computing, you also need freedom one. The freedom to study the source code and change it to make the program do what you wish. This way, you decide what your computing does and how, instead of letting the developer impose those decisions on you. If you don't have freedom one, you can't even study independently what this program really does. And very often, these programs have malicious features that do things such as spy on the user, intentionally restrict the user, and there are even backdoors that can receive commands and then mistreat the user. And this is not a rare danger. This is the usual case. Almost all people who use proprietary software are using malicious proprietary software. For example, one proprietary package that has all three of these kinds of malicious features that you may have heard of is called Microsoft Windows. There are known spy features in Windows, known visible features to restrict what the user can do with the data in his own computer. These are called digital handcuffs, or digital restrictions management, DRM. And there are known backdoors in Windows. So, what should we call a program that has malicious features? The term is malware. Windows is malware. Microsoft, knowing, made Windows malware, because these are not errors. These are features that were designed in. Worse than that, Windows is universal malware, because one of the backdoors in Windows gives Microsoft the power to forcibly install software changes. Microsoft can do this without asking permission from the nominal owner of the computer. So this means that when Microsoft arranges for Windows to run in that computer, Microsoft has owned that computer. That's why I talk about the nominal owner. Microsoft has really taken possession of that machine. So any malicious feature that isn't in Windows today could be remotely installed tomorrow. That's why I call it universal malware. However, Windows is not unique. macOS is malware too, because it has digital handcuffs, features to restrict what users do with their data. However, the newer Apple products, the iThings, are nastier because they have known spy features. The spy feature in the iThings was discovered about 6 months ago, and people started talking about the spy phone. Of course, the digital handcuffs in the iThings are the tightest in the world. Apple is the pioneer in attacking the freedom of its users. When users talk about jailbreaking those products, in effect, they acknowledge that those products are designed to be jails. And there's a backdoor with which Apple can forcibly delete installed applications. So, Apple products are malware. Then there's Flash Player. Flash Player is malware too, because it has a surveillance feature and digital handcuffs. Flash Player is gratis. Does that make any difference? It means that Adobe does not require the user to pay to be abused. Flash Player is not free software. because you don't get the source code. You don't have freedom 1. You don't even have freedom 2, not really. So this shows that being gratis is not good enough. That doesn't make a program free software. And that doesn't even assure you that it's not malware. Then there's the Amazon swindle. That's not its official name. The Amazon swindle is a so-called ebook reader. In other words, it's designed to attack the traditional freedoms of readers of books. For instance, there's the freedom to acquire a book anonymously by paying cash, which is the only way I get books. I refuse to identify myself when I get a book, because it's a threat to human rights if there is a database that records all the books we read. But that's what this swindle does, because Amazon requires users to identify themselves. So Amazon has a giant database of all the books that each user has obtained, of all the books each user has read, in effect. And we can't tolerate that no matter who has it. And then there's the freedom to give a book to someone else, perhaps after you read it. Or the freedom to lend books to other people. And the freedom to sell a book to someone else, perhaps to a used bookstore. Amazon abolishes this with digital handcuffs in the swindle and with contempt for private property. Amazon says that users can't own books. They can only get a license to read a book under Amazon's choice of conditions. And then there's the freedom to keep a book for as long as you wish, and eventually pass it on to your children. Amazon eliminates that with a back door. We know about this back door by observation. We can't see the source code, so we don't know everything that it does. We know one thing. It can be used to remotely delete books. We know this because in 2009, Amazon remotely deleted thousands of copies of a particular book. These were authorized copies. People had obtained them directly from Amazon. They were authorized until the day Amazon decided to delete them. And the book that Amazon deleted, the book with which Amazon demonstrated the Orwellian nature of this product, was 1984 by George Orwell. A book about a totalitarian state that did things such as delete books it didn't approve of. There was a lot of criticism of Amazon after it did that. So Amazon promised it would never do that again unless it were ordered to by the state, which I do not find comforting. 1984 is a very important book. You should all read it, but not in the swindle. I am not going to keep my books in a form that somebody can remotely delete. Now, the official name of this product is the Kindle. Kindle means to start a fire. So evidently, this product was designed to burn our books. Then there's the example of portable phones. A lot of portable phones we recently discovered come with a special surveillance package called Courier IQ, which allows the manufacturer to get lots of information out of the phone whenever it wishes. Meanwhile, most portable phones will transmit the GPS location on command. So they're tracking devices. This will take a moment. So this is the most commonly used non-free software. Almost everyone that's using non-free software is using these things. And it's malicious. But there are thousands of other non-free programs, and we don't know anything about what's inside them. We don't know if they have malicious features or not. We can't find out, because the developers won't let us find out. So the same entity that might have put in malicious features is stopping us from checking for malicious features. How can you trust them? A non-free program without Freedom 1 is just trust me software. And you're supposed to trust, usually, a corporation. How can you trust a corporation to do anything decent? So, you shouldn't trust them. But I don't know if they have malicious features. However, there is something I do know. They were written by human beings, and human beings make mistakes. So the code of those programs has bugs. And the user of a program without Freedom 1 is just as helpless facing an accidental error as facing an intentional malicious feature. If you use a program without Freedom 1, you are a prisoner of that software. We free software developers are human too. We also make mistakes. Our free programs have bugs too. But if you find a bug in our free code, or anything in our code that you don't like, you are free to change it, because we did not make you a prisoner. I feel a need to sit down. I try to avoid it. I speak better when I'm standing, but sometimes I just have to. So, Freedom 1 is essential. But it's not enough, because that's the freedom to personally study and change the source code. That's not enough, because there are millions of users that don't know how to program. They don't know how to exercise Freedom 1. But even programmers like me, and maybe some of you, well, we're busy. We're working on a few projects, and we don't have time to study lots of other programs and change them. And besides, there's so much free software in the world today that no user could possibly study the source code of all the programs she uses, or personally write all the changes she might want. That's more work than one human being could possibly do. So, oh, this is really feeling strange. Didn't need that much. Why is this? So the only way we can fully have control of our computing is working together, cooperating. For that, we need Freedom 3, the freedom to make copies of your modified versions and distribute them to others when you wish. With this freedom, if a few people who use a program make an improved version, they can distribute copies to you. They can publish their version. And then everybody gets to use it if he wishes. Even the users that don't know how to program can get this improved version and run it.
And so we all get the benefit. And the change only has to be written once. Without Freedom 3, each of us would be free to write the change. But what a waste it would be to write the same change a million times. And the users that don't know how to program, they would be excluded. They can't write it for themselves. So Freedom 3 is essential. So now I've explained why all 4 of the freedoms are essential. And the 4 freedoms are good for every user. Every user gets the benefit. Every user can exercise Freedom 0 and Freedom 2. The freedom to run the program as you wish, and the freedom to distribute exact copies, because these don't require programming. Any user can do these things. Freedoms 1 and 3, the freedom to study and change the source code, and the freedom to distribute copies of your modified versions, these involve programming. So any given user is capable of exercising these more or less according to how much she knows how to program. And of course, if you can only program a little and you can only make small changes, that's still useful. But many users don't know how to program at all. And they can't exercise freedoms 1 and 3. But they get the benefit of those freedoms when others who are programmers make changes in the program, and when they publish their modified versions, then everybody gets to run them or not, as he pleases. And this way, we all get the benefit of living in a society where we have the 4 freedoms. And if you don't know how to program, and thus you don't know how to exercise freedoms 1 and 3, you can still take advantage of them indirectly. If you want a change made in a free program and you have some money, you can pay a programmer to make the change for you. You can pay any programmer you wish who's willing to do the job. It's a free market. This is impossible with proprietary software. With proprietary software, only the developer has the source code, so only the developer can make a change. If the user wants change, the user has to beg and pray, "Oh, almighty developer, please make this change for me." And the developer may do it or may not. Some developers say, "Pay us and we'll listen to your problem." If the user pays, the developer says, "Thank you so much. In 6 months there will be an upgrade. Buy the upgrade and you'll see if we have fixed your problem, and you'll see what new problems we have in store for you." In other words, support for proprietary software is a monopoly. Even if you have a choice between proprietary programs to do the job, it's still a monopoly for support. If you choose this proprietary program, you're stuck in this monopoly for support. But if you choose this proprietary program, you're stuck in this monopoly for support. So it's a choice between monopolies, but there's no escape from the monopoly, not in proprietary software. But support for free software is a free market. Anybody who has the skill can study the source code and provide support to you. This means if you are a user that really wants good support, and you're prepared to pay for it because good support is going to cost you money, you can expect to get better support with free software in the free market. With free software, If you have a support contract with one support provider and you're not satisfied, you can switch to somebody else. And the providers understand that you can switch to somebody else, so they have to do a good job. Thus, organizations that care about good support really ought to use free software. And the four freedoms together give us democracy. A free program develops democratically under the control of its users, because every user is free to participate as much as she wishes in society's decision about the future of the program, which is simply the sum of all the decisions that users make for what to do with this program. By contrast, a proprietary program develops under the sole and total power of its owner, who is effectively a dictator. And the program is an instrument for that entity's power over the users. And with that power, the owner can exploit them, command them, and abuse them. Because ultimately, with free software, there are just two possibilities. With software, there are just two possibilities. Either the users control the program, or the program controls the users. The first case is free software. If the users have the four essential freedoms, then they control the program. They control it individually, and they control it collectively in any group they organize themselves into. But if the users don't have these freedoms, then they don't control the program, so the program controls the users, and the owner controls the program, and through it has power over the users. So society has a choice to make. On one side, we have individual freedom, social solidarity, and democracy. On the other, we have the dictatorship of the owner. Society must reject proprietary software and insist on free software. Thus, the ultimate goal of the free software movement is the liberation of cyberspace and all of its inhabitants. We invite you to escape from proprietary software and come live with us in the free world that we have built. Standing is just not feeling good for me right now. I started the free software movement in 1983. I wanted to make it possible to use computers and have freedom. That was impossible, because the computer won't do anything without an operating system. And in 1983, all the operating systems for modern computers were proprietary. So if you bought a new computer, leaving so soon? If you bought a modern computer, you needed to have a proprietary operating system installed in it, and there went your freedom. How could I change that? I was just one man with not much fame outside of the users of the editor Emacs, and not much money. Only a few people agreed with me, so I didn't think I'd be able to change this with a political movement that would protest in the street and send letters to officials. And besides, I had no experience doing that. I was not a political organizer, I was an operating system developer. But as an operating system developer, there was another way I could realize the same change. All I had to do was write an operating system. And then, as its author, I could legally make it free software. And then, everybody would be able to use their computers in freedom by running my system. This meant that I could eliminate this injustice, or at least make a start at it, by doing technical work in my own field. So I was aware of the injustice of proprietary software, which most people did not recognize as an injustice. I had the skills necessary to begin to eliminate this injustice, and it looked like nobody else would do this if I did not. That meant I had been elected by circumstances to do this work. It was my duty. It's as if you see somebody drowning and you know how to swim and there's no one else around and it's not Bush, then you have a moral duty to save this person. I am worried that people are not understanding me. Raise your hand if you understand my speech. Raise your hand if you did not understand my speech. Why didn't you laugh when I said, and it's not Bush?
Nice joke.
What? Anyway, I don't know how to swim, but in this case, the job to do was write software. And I know how to do that. So I decided to develop an operating system that would be entirely free software. Zero proprietary software in it. Because if you are using even one piece of proprietary software, your freedom has been infringed. In order to live in freedom, you need to have zero proprietary software. So that was my goal. Then I decided to invite other people to help write it, to finish it sooner. Then I decided to follow the basic design of Unix. Unix was a proprietary operating system with some technical advantages. For instance, Unix was portable. It could be adapted to new models of computer. I wanted to make a portable operating system also. I didn't want my system to be tied to one kind of computer, because what would happen if that computer became obsolete? Then my system would be useless. So I wanted to make a portable system, and following the basic design of Unix gave me a good chance to succeed in that. And then I decided to make it upward compatible with Unix, meaning that the same commands and system calls that work on Unix would work in my system also, so that the Unix users would be able to switch to my system easily. And then I gave it the name GNU as a joke. GNU is a recursive acronym. It stands for GNU's Not Unix. GNU, GNU's Not Unix. So the G in GNU stands for GNU's. Well, programmers love jokes involving recursion. But in order to be a joke, it needs to have another meaning. Why GNU and not ANU, FNU, SNU, UNU? Because those are not words. GNU is a word. GNU is the name of that animal that lives in Africa. And with another meaning, that makes it a joke. But it's better than that. You see, GNU is the most humor-charged word in the English language, used in countless wordplays, because according to the dictionary, it's pronounced GNU. The G is silent. So every time you want to say the word, you want to write the word new, you can spell it G-N-U, and you've got a joke. Perhaps not a very good joke, but there are lots of them. So when people see the word GNU, they're already almost ready to laugh. But when it's the name of our system, please do not follow the dictionary. Please pronounce it GNU. If you pronounce it GNU, you'll get people confused. Because we've been working on this system for almost 28 years, and we've been using it for 19 years, so it's not new anymore. But it still is GNU, and it will always be GNU. There's another pronunciation error, which is extremely confusing, so please be careful to avoid it. It sounds like Linux. You'll find that an amazing number of people, when they talk about the GNU system, call it Linux. How did this error get so widespread? It was basically a mistake that a few people made, and other people imitated it, and it spread faster than we can correct it.